that time, we have done a lot of things. We've gotten rid of DEI. We've gotten rid of those things that are dividing us. We've made a flag policy that says we stand on the American flag, the POW flag, and our service flag.
Yeah, I don't. I think if we have to address that, DEI. There's really no good way to come at that. So from a VA perspective, the only thing I really worried about from that, and if you're wondering, I'm not a huge DEI person. I just want to rip that Band-Aid off, okay? But one of my friends who watches my kids, she's one of our babysitters, she was an SES over the DEIA department. She's retired. She's been gone. She retired in the Biden administration. But talking with her throughout the past years, to my understanding, is that the DEIA is really looking at accessibility. So an example of that could be you live in middle of nowhere, Arkansas, a VA facility is 3 hours away. Maybe you can't drive, right? So there's an access issue there, and you can't drive because you're blind, you're service-connected disabilities, whatever the case may be. That was really my biggest kind of red flag about the DEIA, because they liquidated that entire office. It's gone. It's gone. The second thing, Jason, would be a lot of people are talking about how veterans are DEI, veterans are DEI, veterans are DEI for veteran preference and all this stuff. I just want to be very clear that this is the DEIA umbrella of the VA, right? It has nothing to do with veteran preference. All that stuff is like big federal government. This is DEIA within like a VA office of DEIA. Those are my thoughts on the DEI thing. The flag policy, I don't even care about, to be honest with you. Sure. Got it. American flag, of course. POW, sure. VA flag, if they have one, I don't know. All right. What do you got on that?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm on the same page as you with the flag policy. I think that it should just be, the standard American military branches and the POW. That should be the standard. DEI, diversity,
equity, inclusion.
Yeah, equity and inclusion. There you go.
And then there's accessibility, DEIA.
Oh, and A. There you go. So that's the A portion. Okay. So with all of that, I would say, you bring up a good point, right? Most people who hear DEI with or without the A just focus on, the sexual preference type stuff. And then really that's kind of where it stops. So yes, there is that access, that aspect of accessibility. And I think that that's an important piece, right? You need some group to be able to do that. Now, there is a piece of legislation out there that is calling for a committee on accessibility. In fact, it's called the Veterans Accessibility Act or something like that. So there's this piece of legislation, I think, maybe a result of eliminating that they're for the VA. They are specifically establishing that, or looking to, if it passes Congress, right? So it just got introduced, and so that committee will work on that. There's still going to always be some sort of a channel in which you could complain about your accessibility issues. It's not like that door's just completely shut. I mean, you should be able to call the VA directly and run it up the flagpole at the local, whatever it is, whether it's a clinic or a regional operations center or whatever it is, and express that concern, even pushing, even if you had to kind of rattle the OIG's line on, just to get it to be seen somewhere. Always, I'm going to encourage people to do this. Look, if you have an issue with anything within the DEIA realm, now that there isn't one, email your congressional member, okay, for your district, ideally the VA facilities in the same district, but you would need to call your district representative, right? So call your congressional office. They have a staffer there that is assigned to handle VA federal government issues. Reach out to them. Let them know. Let them be that for you and they will reach out to the VA and inform them of an accessibility issue or anything else. The only other thing I think that happens is with the DEI realm is there tends to be a focus on hiring and publicizing and getting involved in groups outside of mainstream groups for advertising for jobs or whatever. Well, granted, there's not going to be very many job openings, but so there is that part. So there could be a little less of a presence or push from the VA in these sub communities within the VA. So what does that mean? That means that if you are in one of those subgroups, subcategories of a veteran class, right, of all the veterans, then you're going to have to lean forward and go get that information from a main resource instead of through another channel. That's really all I got on it, Clay.
Yeah, there's another piece to this too. It's always weird talking about it, but I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. This, in my opinion, that's the best way to go about it, right? So, again, a lot of veterans will see the VA liquidated the DEIA office, and they're thinking like big federal DEI, right? Not necessarily the VA's little piece of the pie. VA's piece of the pie, a lot of it is accessibility. Another part of it is looking at minority groups and the disparage against being denied versus white people. Like if we're just going to put all the cards on the table. The VA News did come out with an article about the liquidation of the DEIA office and talking about how the VA was helping minority groups get service connected. So mainly on the disability claim side of the house, not necessarily like going to your healthcare appointment on the accessibility. The question that I would ask is, well, what did they tangibly do? And then I would really want to know the data. Like if we're looking at claims that are being denied, well, why were they denied, right? So for instance, if you have a white veteran and a minority veteran, both had evidence from service. They both had a current diagnosis, right, but the white veteran was consistently service connected and then the minority veteran was consistently denied. That would be an issue, right? But then you look at the denials and it's like, okay, well, who didn't have a current diagnosis, right? And so then you look at other disparities of, all right, well, let's talk about access to healthcare, because that could be looking at minority groups and social and economic statuses. I'm just saying that would be something to look at. So that would be another angle the VA is probably taking. Now it's gone. The office is gone. And so I would say that if you are a minority veteran specifically, does this impact you? I don't think the VA DEIA's office does. I think there are very large, big, like economic problems. Like if you don't have access to healthcare, I don't think that's a VA issue, maybe like a huge, big top level federal issue versus like getting a current diagnosis for the claim you want to submit, right? I'm really looking at it from a disability perspective. I don't know how else I can cut that cake there, but
no, you know what? I like that aspect though. You know, in the event of the disparity, and I've seen numbers. I never really did a deep dive into really figuring out and looking at the quality control aspect of what's coming in, what the result is, right? But that I distinctly remember seeing that there were numbers out there that showed, for example, Black veterans were being denied more often than white. And I saw those numbers somewhere, and it was a little while back, and I'll have to kind of dig back and try to find that. But you bring up a good point. Is it the data that was given? And if it was the data that was given, then, or evidence, if it's the evidence that was given, then why, what barrier or what hurdle caused the difference in evidence, right? Was it access, like you said, to healthcare, or was it access to an accredited representative because of whatever the geographic location was? I will say this, that evidence is key at the end of the day. And I think that the opening through the PACT Act, the opening up of VA healthcare to 1 million people, and quite frankly, probably the majority just aren't even fully aware that they even qualify to go get healthcare from the VA. If you're not sure if you qualify or not for healthcare from the VA, the form is 10-10. So it's the VA form 10-10. You could read through it. It gives you all of the reasons why you would qualify for VA healthcare. So go through that and reach out to the VA, or drive over or stop by the VA medical center, and you could talk with them there and see if you can get enrolled. Because, I mean, look, it's from two claims guys' perspective. Is the VA the best place to go get all your evidence for a claim you want to file for? Not necessarily. It's not the best place, but you can go get care. And if you navigate it appropriately, you can get things documented the right way. It just takes a little more effort and wherewithal to make that happen. All right, back to you, Clay.
Yeah. We're going to get back to the video. And I think it's important to say that Jason and I are two white dudes. So food for thought, we don't know what we don't know.
I'm mostly white.
Yeah.